You can have all my planet if you tame that predator, laughed the Emperor. Then the human boy said, "Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel." The Imperial throne room on Vexoria Prime stretched endlessly in all directions, its crystalline pillars reaching toward a ceiling that seemed to contain captured stars. In the center, surrounded by his royal court of the most powerful beings in the known galaxy, Emperor Draken lounged upon his massive obsidian throne. His 8-foot frame, covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with his mood, currently displayed a bored azure hue. Logan Hayes was 12 years old, scrawny, with unruly brown hair and dirt smudges on his face. He stood on the gleaming floor beside the Earth Ambassador, feeling very small and very far from home. "And so, your luminescence," the Earth Ambassador continued. "We believe that a diplomatic relationship between our species would be mutually beneficial. Humans may be newcomers to interstellar travel, but we have much to offer." Emperor Draken yawned, revealing rows of serrated teeth. His scales rippled to a dismissive purple. Yes, your species is quite persistent." The Emperor's voice resonated throughout the chamber. "Every solar cycle, you humans send representatives. Every solar cycle, I explain that Vexoria has no interest in diplomatic relations with primitive species." Logan shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't supposed to be here at all. His parents were xenobiologists stationed on a research vessel, and this diplomatic mission was supposed to be a quick educational field trip. But the ambassador had insisted on bringing a human child to demonstrate Earth's commitment to intergenerational diplomacy, some nonsense about showing how humans valued their future. However, the Emperor continued, his scales flickering to an amused yellow. "I find myself unusually entertained today." His massive head swiveled toward Logan. "You bring a youngling to my court? Bold or foolish?" The ambassador bowed deeply. "This is Logan Hayes, your luminescence. We believe that fostering understanding between our worlds begins with our youth." Logan tried to bow like he'd been instructed, but his legs were trembling too much to do it properly. The Emperor leaned forward, his enormous face now just feet away from Logan. The boy could smell something like cinnamon and ozone emanating from the alien ruler. "Tell me, small human," Draken said, "what do you think your species has to offer mine?" Logan's throat went dry. This wasn't in the briefing. The ambassador tensed beside him. Logan began, his voice cracking. "We're good at solving problems, your luminescence." A ripple of chittering laughter spread through the alien court. The Emperor's scales shifted to an amused orange. "Problems?" The Emperor's massive head tilted. "What problems could a mighty empire such as mine possibly have that would require human assistance?" Logan was about to stammer out an apology when a commotion erupted at the far end of the throne room. Guards with crystalline spears rushed toward the entrance, shouting in their clicking language. The Emperor rose suddenly, his scales flashing to a brilliant red. What is the meaning of this interruption? A harried-looking Vexorian official scurried forward, prostrating himself before the throne. "Your luminescence, forgive the intrusion. The Razor Claw has escaped confinement again." The court erupted in panicked chittering. The ambassador grabbed Logan's shoulder, pulling him back. "Silence!" roared the Emperor, and the room instantly quieted. His scales pulsed between red and black. "How many casualties?" "3 handlers, your luminescence," the official replied, still facing the floor. "And it's headed this way." The Emperor hissed something in his native tongue, and guards began ushering the court members toward hidden exits. "Secure the diplomatic wing," he ordered. "Ensure our guests are safe." The ambassador pulled Logan toward a side exit, but the boy's attention was caught by something moving in the shadows behind one of the massive crystalline pillars. A massive shape, sleek and dark, with glowing amber eyes. "There!" Logan shouted, pointing. Behind the pillar. All heads turned. The Emperor's scales drained to a pale gray as the creature emerged from the shadows. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. The size of a rhino but shaped more like a panther, with 6 muscular limbs ending in hooked claws. Its hide was a shifting pattern of black and deep blue, and a ridge of spines ran down its back. But most striking were its eyes, intelligent, calculating, and fixed directly on the Emperor. "The Razor Claw," whispered the ambassador. "The apex predator of Vexoria." Guards formed a protective circle around the Emperor, who had retreated to his throne. "Evacuate the chamber," he ordered, his voice less commanding than before. "Why don't you just kill it?" Logan asked, genuinely curious. The ambassador looked horrified at the question, but the Emperor answered. "The Razor Claw is sacred to our people, small human," he said. "The embodiment of Vexoria itself. It cannot be killed, but neither can it be tamed. For generations, we have kept specimens in the royal menagerie, but none survive captivity for long, and none have ever been truly domesticated." The Razor Claw stalked forward, ignoring the guards, its focus entirely on the Emperor. Its spines raised, glowing with a faint blue luminescence. "Perhaps," the Emperor said, his voice carrying a strange tone Logan hadn't heard before. Was it fear? "This diplomatic meeting should be postponed." Logan stared at the creature, fascinated despite his terror. It reminded him of the big cats his parents had studied on Earth before turning their attention to extraterrestrial biology. His mom had specialized in behavioral patterns of predators, his dad in communication and domestication techniques. A crazy idea formed in Logan's mind. "Your luminescence," he said, his voice steadier than he expected. "What if I could tame it?" The throne room went utterly silent. Even the Razor Claw seemed to pause. The Emperor's scales rippled with disbelief. "You? A human child? Tame the untamable." "Yes," Logan said, with far more confidence than he felt. The Emperor stared at him for a long moment, then threw back his massive head and laughed. The sound echoed through the throne room like thunder. "You can have all my planet if you tame that predator," laughed the Emperor. Then the human boy said, "I'll need some meat. The rawer the better." The ambassador grabbed Logan's arm. "Have you lost your mind?" he hissed. "That thing will tear you apart." Logan shook free. "My parents taught me about predator behavior. Trust me." "Your luminescence," the ambassador pleaded. "The boy doesn't know what he's saying. We should evacuate." "No," the Emperor interrupted, his scales now pulsing with a curious blue-green. "I am intrigued. Let the human youngling try. It will make for an amusing diversion before the beast inevitably consumes him." He gestured to a guard. "Bring raw meat from the kitchens." While they waited, the Razor Claw continued its slow advance, muscles rippling beneath its shimmering hide. The guard returned with a platter of raw, purple meat that smelled strongly of iron and something sweet. Logan took the platter, his hands shaking slightly. The ambassador backed away, clearly expecting the worst. "Stay back," Logan told everyone. "And whatever happens, don't make any sudden movements or loud noises." Taking a deep breath, Logan stepped forward, placing himself between the Emperor and the advancing predator. The Razor Claw stopped, regarding him with those intelligent amber eyes. Logan remembered his mother's words. Predators are pragmatists. They don't want to fight, they want a meal. Show them respect, show no fear, and give them a reason to see you as more valuable alive than dead. He set the platter on the floor and took 3 steps back, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. Then he knelt, making himself smaller, less threatening, while maintaining eye contact with the creature. The Razor Claw's nostrils flared, catching the scent of the meat. Its gaze flickered between Logan and the offering. "It's okay," Logan said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you. No one here is." The creature's ears, or what Logan assumed were ears, twitched at the sound of his voice. It took a tentative step forward, then another. "That's it," Logan encouraged. "You're hungry, aren't you? They don't feed you right in that menagerie." The Razor Claw approached the platter, still keeping its amber eyes fixed on Logan. With a sudden motion, it speared a chunk of meat with one claw and brought it to its mouth, revealing rows of gleaming teeth. "Smart," Logan murmured. "You don't want to lower your guard by putting your head down." As the creature ate, Logan noticed something he hadn't seen before. Scars across its flank, some old, some newer. "They've been trying to control you through pain," he realized aloud. No wonder you keep escaping. The Razor Claw finished the meat and stared at Logan expectantly. More coming soon, Logan promised, though he had no idea if that was true. He slowly extended his hand, palm down, in the creature's direction, not close enough to touch, just an offering of scent. The throne room remained deathly silent. Logan could feel the Emperor's gaze boring into his back, but he didn't dare turn around. The Razor Claw leaned forward, nostrils flaring as it caught Logan's scent. Then, to everyone's astonishment, it sat back on its haunches, regarding the boy with what could only be described as curiosity. Another platter, Logan requested, his voice barely above a whisper. After a moment's hesitation, the Emperor gave the order. Soon, another platter of raw meat was carefully slid across the floor toward Logan. This time, Logan picked up a piece of meat himself. The Razor Claw's muscles tensed, but it didn't move. Trust works both ways, Logan said, extending the meat in his open palm. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then, with deliberate slowness, the Razor Claw approached. Its head alone was larger than Logan's entire torso. It sniffed his hand, then delicately, far more delicately than seemed possible for such a massive creature, took the meat from his palm, its teeth barely grazing his skin. A collective gasp echoed through the throne room. Logan smiled. Good job, he said, reaching for another piece. This time, he held it slightly higher, so the Razor Claw would have to raise its head to take it. After several more pieces, fed one by one from Logan's hand, he risked raising his other hand, slowly, toward the creature's head. The Razor Claw tensed, but didn't retreat. I'm not going to hurt you, Logan promised. No one's going to hurt you again. His fingers made contact with the creature's hide, smooth and warm, almost like snake skin, but with a subtle texture. The Razor Claw remained still for a moment, then, incredibly, leaned into his touch. Behind him, Logan heard the Emperor rise from his throne. Impossible, Draken breathed, his voice lacking its usual resonance. Logan continued stroking the Razor Claw, finding a spot behind what he guessed was an ear that made the creature emit a low, rumbling sound, not unlike a cat's purr, but deeper, vibrating through the floor. He's not taming it, one of the court members whispered loudly. He's communing with it. What is your secret, human child? The Emperor demanded, his scales now a kaleidoscope of conflicting colors. Without turning, Logan answered, no secret. Just respect. You've been trying to break its will. I'm just asking for its cooperation. The Razor Claw had fully relaxed now, its massive head practically in Logan's lap as he scratched behind its ears and along its jaw. The rumbling purr grew louder. His name is Midnight, Logan announced suddenly. Name? The Emperor echoed. You've named the sacred beast? Everything deserves a name, Logan said simply. And he likes this one. Look at how his spines glow when I say it. Midnight. Indeed, the ridge of spines along the creature's back pulsed with a soft blue light at the sound of the name. The Emperor descended from his dais, approaching cautiously. The Razor Claw, Midnight, raised his head, spines flaring slightly. It's okay, Logan assured both of them. Your luminescence, move slowly and keep your hands where he can see them. If anyone in the court found it odd that a human child was now giving instructions to the Emperor of the most powerful civilization in the known galaxy, they didn't comment. The Emperor knelt beside Logan, his massive frame dwarfing the boy. His scales had settled into a deep, reverent blue. In all the recorded history of our empire, he said quietly, no one has ever done what you just did. Logan shrugged. Maybe no one tried the right way. Perhaps, the Emperor conceded. He extended a scaled hand toward Midnight, who sniffed it cautiously before allowing a brief touch. The Emperor turned to Logan, his expression unreadable to human eyes, but his scales now glowing with a warm golden light. It seems, small human, that I owe you a planet. Wait, what? Logan blinked. I said, you can have all my planet if you tame that predator, the Emperor repeated. I did not expect to honor that promise, but honor it I must. The ambassador, who had been watching in stunned silence, finally found his voice. Your luminescence, Surely this was merely a figure of speech. Emperor Draken does not make figures of speech, the Emperor interrupted, his scales flashing indignantly. A promise made is a promise kept. However, he added, turning back to Logan, perhaps we might negotiate the terms. Logan looked down at Midnight, who had resumed his purring, then back at the Emperor. I don't want your planet, he said, but I do want 3 things. The Emperor's head tilted. Name them. First, I want diplomatic relations established between Earth and Vexoria. Full alliance status. The Emperor's scales flickered briefly, but he nodded. Granted. Second, I want the royal menagerie reformed. No more cages. A proper sanctuary for Vexorian wildlife, with Earth xenobiologists, like my parents, helping to design and run it. This request seemed to surprise the Emperor more than the first. You care about our wildlife? All wildlife, Logan corrected. Everywhere. After a moment's consideration, the Emperor nodded again. It shall be done. And third, Logan said, scratching Midnight behind the ears, I want to visit. To see him. Regularly. The Emperor's scales shifted to a warm orange. That, small human, can most certainly be arranged. As Logan continued to pet the supposedly untamable apex predator of Vexoria, the Earth ambassador stared in disbelief at what had just transpired. In less than an hour, a 12-year-old boy had accomplished what years of formal diplomacy had failed to achieve. One question, your luminescence, Logan said, looking up at the towering alien ruler. Why did you keep trying to tame the razor claws if it never worked? The Emperor's scales dimmed slightly. According to our most ancient traditions, the ruler who tames the sacred beast will usher in an era of unprecedented prosperity and expansion for the Empire. His massive shoulders lifted in what Logan recognized as a shrug. No emperor has succeeded. Until today. But I'm not the Emperor, Logan pointed out. No, Draken agreed, his scales now pulsing with a thoughtful blue. You are something far more unexpected. As if understanding the conversation, Midnight rumbled and pressed his massive head against Logan's chest, nearly knocking the boy over. I believe, the Emperor said, rising to his full height, that the arrival of humans in our galaxy may be more significant than we realized. He extended a clawed hand to help Logan to his feet. Come, Logan Hayes of Earth. We have much to discuss about the future of our worlds. And as Logan walked beside the Emperor of Vexoria, with the sacred razor claw patting contentedly at his side, he couldn't help but think that his parents were going to be very, very surprised when they found out what he'd done on his field trip. But then again, maybe not. They had always taught him that understanding was the key to connection, whether with animals, humans, or even 8-foot-tall alien emperors with color-changing scales. He just hoped they'd let him keep visiting Midnight. News of Logan's achievement spread through the Vexorian Empire like wildfire. By the time his parents arrived at the Imperial Palace, summoned urgently from their research vessel, the boy had become something of a legend. Dr. Sarah Morgan and Dr. Ethan Cole rushed through the ornate corridors, flanked by Vexorian guards whose postures displayed something Logan had never seen directed toward humans before: respect. Logan. His mother's voice echoed across the Imperial Gardens where he sat beside a reflecting pool, Midnight lounging contentedly next to him. Logan jumped to his feet, suddenly remembering he was, after all, just a 12-year-old who'd wandered off during a field trip. Mom. Dad. I can explain. The words died in his throat as his parents stopped dead in their tracks, their eyes fixed on Midnight. The razor claw raised his massive head, regarding the newcomers with mild interest. Is that, his father began. A razor claw, his mother finished, her scientist's instincts immediately overriding her parental concern. The apex predator of Vexoria. Logan, how are you sitting next to one that isn't trying to eat you? Logan grinned. This is Midnight. We're friends. As if to confirm this outlandish statement, Midnight stretched lazily and rested his enormous head on Logan's lap. The boy scratched behind the creature's ears, eliciting that now familiar rumbling purr. His parents exchanged glances that Logan recognized all too well, Our son has done something beyond comprehension. Look he'd seen when he'd reprogrammed the household AI at age 7 or negotiated peace between warring neighborhood kids at age 9. The ambassador told us some unusual things, his father said carefully. About you, a diplomatic alliance, and something about the Emperor offering you a planet? Logan shrugged. I turned down the planet. Seemed like a lot of responsibility. His mother sat down on a nearby bench, looking faint. Perhaps you should start from the beginning. So Logan did, recounting the events of the past 2 days, how he'd tamed Midnight, negotiated with Emperor Draken, and somehow become the centerpiece of a historic alliance between Earth and the Vexorian Empire. As he spoke, he noticed his parents' expressions shifting from disbelief to professional interest to unmistakable pride. You applied everything we taught you about predator behavior, his father said, shaking his head in amazement. But to an alien species we've barely studied. The principles are universal, Logan replied, echoing words his mother had spoken countless times. Respect, patience, mutual benefit. And now the Emperor wants us to redesign his menagerie, his mother asked, still processing. Not a menagerie anymore, Logan corrected. A sanctuary, where the animals can live naturally, not in cages, and where Vexorians can learn about them without trying to dominate them. His father moved cautiously closer, studying Midnight with naked fascination. May I? He asked Logan, extending a hand. Logan nodded. Move slowly. Let him smell you first. Dr. Cole followed his son's instructions, and soon found himself tentatively touching the creature that had killed countless Vexorians throughout history. Remarkable texture, he murmured. And you say the spines luminesce in response to certain stimuli? When he's happy or excited, Logan explained. Watch Midnight. The ridge of spines along the razor claw's back glowed bright blue at the sound of his name. He responds to his name, Dr. Morgan observed, now kneeling beside them, scientific curiosity having completely replaced maternal concern. Sophisticated cognition, far beyond what the limited Vexorian study suggested. They never gave them a chance, Logan said. They tried to break them instead of understanding them. A shadow fell across the garden. The 3 humans looked up to see Emperor Draken approaching, his scales a calm, diplomatic blue. The xenobiologists have arrived, he observed. Excellent. Logan's parents scrambled to their feet, bowing deeply as they had been instructed. Your luminescence, they murmured in unison. Rise, the Emperor said, with an impatient wave. I have spent enough time with your offspring to recognize that humans do not flourish under excessive formality. Midnight rose as well, stretching his 6 limbs before padding over to the Emperor and bumping his massive head against Draken's leg, a gesture that caused the Imperial guards to tense, then relax in wonder. He likes you, Logan told the Emperor. A most unexpected development, Draken agreed, cautiously patting the creature's head. Much like your son's impact on our empire, Doctors Morgan and Cole. Logan's parents exchanged glances. We understand Logan has negotiated some rather significant diplomatic arrangements, his mother ventured carefully. Indeed. The Emperor's scales shifted to an amused yellow. Your youngling has accomplished in 2 days what your most skilled diplomats failed to achieve in decades. Though I suspect he has inherited his diplomatic instincts from somewhere. His gaze moved meaningfully between the 2 scientists. Dr. Cole cleared his throat. We've always encouraged Logan to seek understanding rather than confrontation. A philosophy that has proven remarkably effective, the Emperor conceded. And one that has forced me to reconsider my assumptions about your species. A Vexorian official approached, bowing deeply before the Emperor. Your luminescence, the High Council has assembled as requested. Excellent. The Emperor turned to the humans. The terms of our alliance must be formalized. Your presence is required. Logan's father looked uncertain. All of us. Logan is just a child. The child who tamed the untamable, the Emperor interrupted, without whom there would be no alliance to formalize. Yes, all of you. The High Council chamber was even more impressive than the throne room. A massive dome with a transparent ceiling revealing the pink-tinged sky of Vexoria. Seated around a crescent-shaped table were the 12 highest-ranking officials in the Empire, their scales displaying various hues of skepticism and curiosity. At the Emperor's insistence, Logan sat between his parents at the table, a position of honor that clearly discomfited the council members. Midnight had refused to leave Logan's side, and now lay curled at his feet beneath the table, occasionally thumping his tail against the polished floor. Esteemed members of the High Council, Emperor Draken began. I present to you the representatives of Earth, Drs. Sarah Morgan and Ethan Cole, distinguished xenobiologists, and their offspring, Logan Hayes, the Tamer. A murmur rippled through the council at Logan's newly bestowed title. As you are aware, the Emperor continued, I have decreed a formal alliance between Vexoria and Earth, granting humans full diplomatic status within our empire. One of the council members, his scales a doubtful gray, spoke up. Your luminescence, while we do not question your wisdom, this decision seems precipitous, based on a single interaction with a single human youngling. A single interaction that defied millennia of Vexorian history. The Emperor countered, his scales flashing briefly to an irritated red before settling back to diplomatic blue. The prophecy states clearly, the one who tames the sacred beast shall usher in an age of prosperity and expansion for the empire. But the prophecy refers to a Vexorian emperor, protested another council member. The prophecy, Draken said firmly, refers to the one. It makes no mention of species. His gaze swept the chamber. Unless any among you wish to challenge the traditional interpretation of our most sacred texts. The council members' scales collectively paled to a submissive blue-gray. Logan leaned toward his mother. What are they talking about? He whispered. Politics, she whispered back. Just let it play out. The skeptical council member wasn't finished. Nevertheless, your luminescence, humans are newcomers to interstellar society. They lack the technological advancement, military strength, and cultural refinement to be true allies to the Empire. Logan's father tensed beside him, but before either of his parents could respond, Logan found himself on his feet. Excuse me, he said, his voice echoing in the sudden silence. May I say something? The council members stared at him in shock. Even the Emperor seemed surprised. The human youngling wishes to address the High Council, Draken announced, his scales shifting to an intrigued purple. I permit it. Logan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of alien gazes upon him. Beneath the table, Midnight pressed reassuringly against his legs. You're right that humans don't have the most advanced technology, Logan began. And we definitely don't have the biggest military. But those aren't the only kinds of strength. He gestured to Midnight. Your people have been trying to dominate Razor Claws for thousands of years, right? Using cages and weapons and force. How did that work out? The council members shifted uncomfortably. Not great. Logan answered his own question. But I didn't try to be stronger than Midnight. I tried to understand him. That's what humans are good at, finding different ways to solve problems. One of the council members, her scales a thoughtful blue, leaned forward. The youngling makes a valid point. Different approaches to problem solving could be valuable to the Empire. Precisely, Emperor Draken agreed. Consider, our scientists have spent generations attempting to develop effective defenses against the Scourge. Logan noticed his parents straighten at the mention of the Scourge, apparently something significant that he hadn't been briefed on. The Brill Collective has made territorial advances into 3 systems while we focus our resources on this existential threat, the Emperor continued. Perhaps a fresh perspective is exactly what we require. The Scourge, Logan whispered to his father. A parasitic life form that's been decimating planets at the edge of Vexorian space, Dr. Cole whispered back. We've heard rumors, but the Vexorians have kept the details classified. The skeptical council members' scales had shifted to a more contemplative hue. You suggest humans might help combat the Scourge? Based on what evidence? The Emperor gestured toward Logan. The evidence sits before you. A human child succeeded where generations of our finest animal handlers failed. Who knows what other insights their species might offer? Logan's mother cleared her throat. If I may, your luminescence? As xenobiologists, my husband and I would be most interested in studying this scourge. Perhaps with full access to your research, we might identify vulnerabilities your scientists have overlooked. The council chamber erupted in chittering discussions. Emperor Draken raised a clawed hand for silence. This brings us to the second term of our agreement, he announced. The establishment of a joint Vexorian human scientific coalition, beginning with the reformation of the Royal Menagerie into a wildlife sanctuary under the guidance of Doctors Morgan and Cole. This pronouncement caused another wave of discussion among the council members, but Logan noticed their scales had collectively shifted toward more receptive hues. And the third term, the Emperor continued, a cultural exchange program, beginning with regular visits from Logan Hayes, the Tamer, who shall serve as a special ambassador between our worlds. Logan's eyes widened. Ambassador? Me. His parents looked equally startled. Indeed, the Emperor confirmed, his scales glowing with an amused orange. Who better to represent humanity's unique approach than the one who demonstrated it so effectively? But I'm just a kid, Logan protested. A distinction that seems irrelevant given your accomplishments, the Emperor replied. Unless your progenitors object? Dr. Morgan and Dr. Cole exchanged looks that contained an entire conversation. We would need to discuss the details, his mother said cautiously. Logan's education must continue, and there are certain legal considerations regarding minors serving in diplomatic capacities. Of course, the Emperor agreed. The specifics can be negotiated. The principle, however, stands. The council meeting continued for several more hours, with discussions of trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and scientific collaborations. Logan tried to pay attention, but found his eyelids growing heavy. Saving interstellar relations, it turned out, was exhausting work. He must have dozed off, because the next thing he knew, his father was gently shaking him awake. Meeting's over, Ambassador, Dr. Cole said with a smile. You made quite an impression. Logan rubbed his eyes. Did it work? Is the alliance happening? It's happening, his mother confirmed. And we've been granted full access to the Scourge research. It's extraordinary, Logan. This could change everything, not just for Earth-Vexoria relations, but for dozens of threatened systems. As they left the council chamber, Midnight padded alongside them, drawing astonished stares from Vexorians they passed in the corridors. So what happens now? Logan asked. Now, said a resonant voice behind them. We prepare to make history. They turned to find Emperor Draken approaching, his scales a satisfied gold. The formal alliance ceremony will take place tomorrow, he informed them. After which, I believe you expressed interest in seeing more of my planet. Logan brightened. Can we see where the Razorclaws live in the wild? I have arranged something better, the Emperor replied. The Royal Hunting Preserve, a territory of some 1,000 square miles where several Razorclaw packs roam freely. It shall be the foundation of your new sanctuary. Logan's parents looked stunned. 1,000 square miles, his father repeated. That's incredibly generous, your luminescence. A small price for what your offspring has given us, the Emperor said. Hope. For thousands of years, we have awaited the fulfillment of the prophecy. We assumed it would come from within, that a Vexorian would tame the sacred beast and lead us to greatness. His scales shifted to a contemplative blue. We never considered that salvation might come from beyond our borders. I just made friends with Midnight, Logan said, scratching the creature's head. I didn't save anyone. But you have, the Emperor insisted, by demonstrating an entirely new approach, one that may prove crucial in our fight against the Scourge, and by opening the door to an alliance that will strengthen both our peoples. The next morning, dressed in ceremonial Earth attire that felt stiff and uncomfortable, Logan stood beside his parents in the Grand Plaza outside the Imperial Palace. Thousands of Vexorians had gathered to witness the historic alliance ceremony, their scales collectively creating a shimmering sea of color. Emperor Draken, resplendent in ceremonial armor that caught the light of Vexoria's twin suns, addressed the crowd in a voice that carried effortlessly across the plaza. For too long, we have stood alone against the darkness that threatens our borders, he proclaimed. For too long, we have relied solely on our own strength, our own wisdom, our own ways. Today, we embrace a new path, one of cooperation, of shared knowledge, of diverse approaches to shared challenges. The crowd chittered in approval, their scales pulsing in unison. Today, we welcome humans as full allies of the Vexorian Empire, the Emperor continued. Beginning with these three, the scientists who shall help us understand both the creatures of our world and the threats beyond it, and the youngling who has accomplished what none of us could. At a signal from the Emperor, Logan stepped forward, Midnight at his side. A murmur rippled through the crowd at the sight of the Razor Claw walking freely, without restraints, beside the human boy. Logan Hayes, the Emperor intoned, known henceforth as Logan the Tamer, first ambassador of Earth to Vexoria, friend of the Empire, and fulfiller of the ancient prophecy. Logan's face burned with embarrassment at the grandiose titles, but he managed a respectful bow as he'd been coached. In recognition of your service to the Empire, the Emperor continued, I present you with this. From a cushion held by an attendant, Draken lifted a medallion, a disc of some iridescent metal inscribed with Vexorian symbols and inlaid with glowing blue stones that matched the color of Midnight's spines. The Imperial Seal, the Emperor explained, placing it around Logan's neck. No human has ever received this honor. It marks you as one who may speak with the Emperor's voice and go where even high officials may not. The medallion was heavy, but Logan stood straighter beneath its weight. Thank you, Your Luminescence. I'll try to be worthy of it. You already are, the Emperor assured him. Then, to the crowd, let the alliance be sealed. A formation of Vexorian ships soared overhead, releasing streams of luminescent particles that formed the symbols of both Earth and Vexoria in the sky above. The crowd erupted in chittering cheers. Later that day, as promised, the Emperor escorted Logan and his parents to the Royal Hunting Preserve. They traveled in an open-air hover vehicle, skimming just above the lush vegetation of Vexoria's wilderness. This entire territory, the Emperor explained, gesturing at the vast landscape of purple forests and crystalline rock formations, will form the core of your sanctuary. Dr. Morgan was already taking readings with her scientific equipment. The biodiversity is extraordinary, she marveled. We could spend lifetimes studying just the plant species alone. And you shall have that opportunity, the Emperor assured her. A research facility will be constructed at the northern border, with living quarters for your family and any Earth scientists you wish to invite. Logan, meanwhile, was focused on Midnight, who had grown increasingly alert as they penetrated deeper into the preserve. The Razorclaw's spines were fully extended, glowing with excitement. He recognizes this place, Logan realized. This is his home. The Emperor nodded. The specimen you call Midnight was captured here 3 solar cycles ago. He has escaped captivity 7 times, a record among his kind. He wasn't trying to attack you in the throne room, Logan said suddenly. He was trying to get your attention, to make you understand. Understand what? Dr. Cole asked. Logan shrugged. That you can't cage something like him and expect it to be happy. That there's a better way. The Emperor's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. Perhaps you are right, Logan the Tamer. Perhaps there is much we have failed to understand about many things. They stopped in a clearing near a crystalline waterfall that cascaded into a pool of water so clear it seemed almost invisible. Midnight grew increasingly restless, pacing around the vehicle. He wants to go, Logan said, a lump forming in his throat. This is where he belongs. You may release him, the Emperor said gently. That is the purpose of a sanctuary, is it not? For creatures to live as they were meant to. Logan nodded, blinking back sudden tears. He climbed down from the vehicle and knelt beside Midnight, wrapping his arms around the creature's massive neck. Thank you, he whispered. For everything. Midnight rumbled, pressing his head against Logan's chest. The boy felt the vibration of the creature's purr resonating through his entire body. Go on, Logan said, pulling back and wiping his eyes. You're free. For a moment, Midnight didn't move. Then, With a grace that belied his size, he bounded toward the forest edge. At the tree line, he paused, looking back at Logan. His spines glowed brilliant blue, the brightest Logan had ever seen them. "Goodbye, Midnight," Logan called. The razor claw let out a roar that echoed across the preserve, not a threat, but a farewell. Then he vanished into the purple foliage. Logan climbed back into the vehicle, his heart both heavy and somehow fuller than before. "You will see him again," the Emperor promised. "Razor claws are territorial. He will remain in this area, and when you return as ambassador, he will remember you." "You're sure?" Logan asked. "As sure as I am that your arrival on Vexoria has changed the course of our history," the Emperor replied, his scales glowing with a warm golden light. Some connections, once formed, cannot be broken by time or distance. As they turned the vehicle back toward the Imperial City, Logan looked out at the alien landscape that would soon become a sanctuary, a place where humans and Vexorians would work together to understand rather than dominate. "Did I really fulfill some ancient prophecy?" he asked the Emperor. "You did something far more important," Draken replied. "You showed us a new way forward. Sometimes, small human, the greatest strength is not in conquering, but in connecting." And as the twin suns of Vexoria began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Logan knew that this was just the beginning of a much larger adventure, one that would bridge worlds, save species, and perhaps even help defeat the mysterious scourge that threatened the borders of the Empire. All because a human boy had shown an alien emperor that sometimes the most powerful approach wasn't force or dominance, but patience, respect, and the willingness to understand. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.